Good morning, students. Today I am here with you to discuss the third lesson of 10th standard English. That is Gentleman of Rio and Medio. The author of this lesson was Juan A. Sidillo. So here, observe the word gentleman. Gentleman means nice person. The person who is having good nature. Well human being. Gentleman means a person who is having good nature or a good behaved person or a nice person or the person who is having concern about others. The person who is not on anybody. The person who is respected by all is called gentleman. Here in this lesson, the author is going to narrate about a gentleman of Rio and Medio. Rio and Medio, it is a name of the place. It is one place which is in New Mexico, America. It is there. So, a small village. So, in that village, there was a gentleman. And the author is going to tell us about that gentleman in this lesson. And Juan A. Sidillo is also from New Mexico. And he was a lawyer. And he is going to narrate a case which he attended in this lesson. So in this lesson, there are nearly 4 main characters are there. 4 main characters. Which were there? Number 1, storyteller. And the second, old man. And the third is Americans. The fourth one is dark young man. Dark young man. So these are the 4 main characters of this lesson. Storyteller. Storyteller is the author only. The author, Juan A. Sidillo, and the old man is Don Anselmo. Don Anselmo. And the Americans, they were the buyer of the Don Anselmo's land. And the dark young man is always with follow Don Anselmo wherever he goes. So these are the 4 main characters of this lesson. Storyteller. Storyteller means is an author. Old man, Americans, and the dark young man. So here, this is a short story that it tells about the quality of honesty. And here, the main character of this lesson is the old man Don Anselmo. He did not heed his he did not break his promise that he has agreed to sell his land for $1,200, but after the survey they find that the land he has owned was more than 8 acres. So the Americans, those who buy their land, they are ready to give double amount. But Don Anselmo didn't agree and he only took $1,200. That's why we call him as gentleman. So like that, let us move on to the lesson. Here students, there are so many difficult words and some Spanish words also there. You have to, I will tell the meanings of those difficult words. You have to take down. Let's start the lesson. Gentleman of Rio and Medio. It took months of negotiation to come to an understanding with the old man. He was in no hurry. What he had the most of was time. He lived up in Rio and Medio, where his people had for hundreds of years. He tilled the same land they had tilled. His house was small and richer but cramped. The little creek ran through his land. His orchard was narrow and beautiful. The day of the sale, he came into the office. His coat was gold, green and fine. I thought of Senator Catron, who has been such a power with these people up there in the mountains. Perhaps it was one of his old Prince Alberts. He wore gloves. They were old and torn and his fingertips showed through them. He carried a cane, but it was only the skeleton of worn out umbrella. Behind him walked one of his innumerable kin, a dark young man with eyes like a gazelle. The old man bowed to all of us in the room. Then he removed his hat and gloves slowly and carefully. Chaplin once did that in a picture in a bank. He was a janitor. Then he handed his things to the boy who stood obediently behind the old man's chair. There was a great deal of conversation about Rain and his family. He was very proud of his large family. Finally, we got down to business. Yes, he would sell as he has agreed for $1,200 in cash. We would buy and the money was ready. Don Anselmo, I said to him in Spanish, we have made a discovery. You remember that we sent that surveyor, that engineer up there to survey your land so as to make the deed. Well, he finds that you own more than 8 acres. He tells us that your land extends across the river and that you own almost twice as much as you thought. He did not know that, and now Don Anselmo, I added, these Americans are buona gente. They are good people and they are willing to pay you for the additional land as well. has the same rate per acre. So that instead of $1,200, you will get almost twice as much, and the money is here for you. The old man hushed his head for a moment in thought, then he stood up and stared at me. "Friend," he said, "I do not like to have you speak to me in that manner." I kept still and let him have it say. "I know these Americans are good people, and that is why I have agreed to sell to them. But I do not care to be insulted. I have agreed to sell my house and land for $1,200, and that is the price." I argued with him, but it was useless. Finally, he signed the deed and took the money, but refused to take more than the amount agreed upon. Then he shook hands all around, put on his wretched gloves, took his stick, and walked out with the boy behind him. So let's stop here. I will explain the lesson from first paragraph. So here, the old man. Who is the old man here? As Don Anselmo. His name was Don Anselmo. So he had a small piece of land which came to him from his ancestors. So now he wanted to sell that land. So, and he was not in a hurry. So he told this matter to his friend, the author of this lesson, John A S Cedillo, and he contacted some Americans, and there was a talk of trade has to be done. So, but they didn't meet. The final talk was not over. So from that only the lesson begins. It took months of negotiation to come to an understanding with the old man. So it took nearly some months to come to an understanding about that land. It took some months to come to an understanding with that old man. Here one word is there. Observe the word negotiation. 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 Negotiation means official discussion. Official discussion. So, to discuss about the selling of the land, they took nearly months. It took several months to come to an understanding with that old man. He was in no hurry. So, Don Anselmo wanted to sell that land, but he was in no hurry. He can wait. Don Anselmo ತನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಜಮೀನನ್ನ ಮಾರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಅವಸರ ಇಲ್ಲ. what he had that most of was time. So he has lot of time. He was in no hurry to sell that land. He lived up in Rio and Medio. Though the old man, where was that old man lived? He was living in Rio and Medio. He lived up in Rio and Medio, where his people had been for hundreds of years. So, his ancestors, his father and grandfather, were also lived up in that same village, Rio and Medio, and the old man Don Anselmo also lived up in that Rio and Medio, a small village. He tilled the same land they had tilled. He tilled the same land they had tilled. Here, tilled means ಉಳುಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ಹೊಲವನ್ನು ಉಳುಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ tilled ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. He tilled the same land they had tilled. The land which he had were that come from his ancestors. From his ancestors it came from. His house was small and rich. So he also had a small house. And it was Richard. Richard means unpleasant. W-R-E-T-C-C-H-E-D. W-R-E-T-C-C-H-E-D. That means unpleasant. P-L-E-A-S-A. Unpleasant. But quaint. Quaint is the word quaint. Q-U-A-I-N. Q-U-A-I-N. Quaint means unusual, and attractive, especially in an old fashioned fashioned way. So the house the old man had was unpleasant, Richard, but it was quaint. It was somewhat attractive. It was old house, but it was attractive. The little creek ran through his land. His orchard was narrow and beautiful. So there was a small river ran through his land. It was a small river, creek. Creek means a small narrow stream or river. A small narrow stream or river. Creek, C-R-E-E-K. C-R-E-E-K. Creek means a small narrow stream. S-T-R-E-A-M. S-T-R-E-A-M. Stream or river. So here there was a small river or stream ran through his land, which he owned. His orchard was narrow and beautiful. Here, observe the word. One more new word is there. Students, please take down the difficult words, meanings of the difficult words in your notebook that I write on the blackboard. Here, orchard, O-R-C-H-A-R-D. O-R-C-H-A-R-D. Orchard means a piece of land, P-I-E-C. Piece, P-I-E-C. Piece of land. A piece of land in which fruit trees are grown. In Kannada we may say the ತೋಟ, ಹಣ್ಣುಗಳ ಮರಗಳನ್ನು ಒಳಗೊಂಡಂತಹ ಒಂದು ತೋಟ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವೆಂದು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಆರ್ಚರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಸ್ ಆರ್ಚರ್ಡ್ ವಾಸ್ gnarled and beautiful. Gnarled means with twisted hard lumps. Gnarled, G-N-A-R-L-E-D, G-N-A-R-L-E-D. Gnarled means with twisted or with twisted hard lumps. ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಸುತ್ತಿಕೊಂಡಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಮರದ ಕೊಂಬೆಗಳು, ಜ್ಞಾಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಹಾರದ ರೀತಿ, ಹೂವಿನ ಹಾರದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೊಂಬೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಚರ್ಡ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್. So the old man wanted to sell his land, was lived in Rio and Medio, and his ancestors also lived there only, and he is tilling the same land which his ancestor tilled, and he had a small house which was richer but quaint, and his orchard was narrow and beautiful. So this was the brief introduction about the old man. The day of the sale, he came into the office. So at last a date has been fixed for the negotiation, for the talk of selling the land. That day he came into the office. So to talk about, so if you want to sell something, there will be some persons out there, those who are elders in that village. They will gather in a place and they will seated around and they will talk about the selling matters. So like that only there is a meeting has been held to talk about sell the land. So for that meaning, the day of the sale, he came into the office. So in that day, which the date was fixed, Don Anselmo came to author's office. His coat was old. So the coat which he was wearing was old, green and fat. The coat which Don Anselmo was wearing was old and it was in green color and it was also faded. Faded means ಕೊಳಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಆಗಿತ್ತು. I thought of Senator Catro. Here Senator Catron means Thomas Benton Catron, a senator from New Mexico, 1912 to 1970. So he was worked as a senator in worked as a Thomas Benton Catron. Was become a senator from New Mexico from 1912 to 1970. So, by looking Don Anselmo, the author remembers Senator Catro, who has been such a power with these people up there in the mountains. So, Don Anselmo having so much of holdings on the people who are there on the mountains. Not forcefully, because the people who are living on that mountain respect him more. They hear his words because they knows that he was a very good person, he was a gentleman. So that's why the people of that village who are there on the mountains loved him more. Perhaps it was one of his old Princess Alberts. Here the Albert, Princess Albert means a long double-breasted coat. Long double-breasted coat. He wore gloves. So he wore a long breasted coat and also he wore gloves. Gloves means kai kauchu. Gloves. They were old and strong. So the gloves which Don Anselmo wear were also old and they were also torn. Torn means torn, and his fingertips showed through them. So from that gloves, his fingertips came out from that gloves. It means to say the gloves were already old and they were torn out. Showed them. He carried a cane. He carried a cane. Cane means umbrella. But it was only the skeleton of worn out umbrella. It was the skeleton of worn out umbrella. So the cane which Don Anselmo took with him, was nothing but it was the skeleton of a torn out umbrella or worn out umbrella. Behind him walked one of his innumerable kin, dark young man with eyes like a gazelle. So Don Anselmo didn't come alone. There was a boy behind him. He was his innumerable kin. It means to say that he was his old relative. He was his old relative, and how he looks, young man, eyes like a gazelle. So here, though ಜಿಂಕೆಯಂತಹ ಕಣ್ಣುಳ್ಳಂತಹ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ, ಕಪ್ಪನೆಯ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅವನ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. The old man after, so here in the second paragraph, the author described about the appearance of Don Anselmo. So, he wore a old green padded coat, and he also wore a gloves on his hands, and that were also old and that were also torn, and the fingertips came out from that gloves, and he had a cane in his hand. It was not a cane, but what it was here, just like a skeleton of worn out umbrella, and he was followed by a black young man who is having eyes like a gazelle. The old man bowed to all of us in the room. So after coming to the office of the author's office, he bowed to all of them who were gathered there. The old man bowed to all of us in the room. So you just think that he is the eldest man in that office, but he didn't wish. He bowed his head. That was the quality of a good gentleman. That was the nature of a gentleman. That we have to inculcate that type of nature, that type of behaviors. That's why we are calling it as gentleman of Rio and Medio. Then he removed his hat and gloves slowly and carefully. So after entered the office, he bowed to all and he removed his hat and gloves slowly and carefully, because they were already old. So that's why carefully he removed that. Chaplin once did that in a picture in a bank. He was a janitor. So, seeing Don Anselmo, the author remembered Charlie Chaplin was a great comedian. He also did the same thing in a picture where he was a janitor. He was acted as a janitor. Then he handed his things to the boy who stood obediently behind the old man's chair. So after removing those things, hat and gloves, he handed over those things to the boy who was obediently standing behind him, who came with him from the mountains. So now, here, let's move on to next paragraph. There was a great deal of conversation about Ray and his family. So there was an office. So many people were there, were sitting in that office, and they were discussing about the Ray and his family. Whose family? Don Anselmo's family. Because such a big family that was. So that there was a great deal of conversation about Ray and his family. So the people who were gathered there were discussing, their conversation was going on about Ray and his family. He was very proud of his large family. So Don Anselmo, the old man, was very proud about his large family. It means to say that his ancestors also lived as gentlemen. So that's why the villagers who were there would respect his family most. And he also very much proud about his family. Finally, we got down to business. So at last, After the casual talking, they came to the point that they at last they started to talk about selling the land. Finally, we got down to business. Yes, he would sell, and as he had agreed for $1,200 in cash. So already the price has been decided for that land. How much it was? $1,200. So in the first talk, the author tells us, yes, he would sell. Don Anselmo is ready to sell his land as he had agreed for $1,200 in cash. So he already agreed to sell his land for $1,200 in cash. We would buy, and the money was ready. Here we means the author and the Americans. Author and the Americans, both. He only talked between Americans and Don Anselmo. He only decided the price. He is a mediator between Don Anselmo and Americans. So he told that the money is ready. Don Anselmo, and he continued his talk. The author continues, he addresses Don Anselmo. Don Anselmo, I said to him in Spanish, he was speaking in Spanish, we have made a discovery. So, after the selling the land, when one person is going to sell the land, they survey the land first. They survey the land. So, like that only, they also survey the land and discovered something. We have made a discovery. We have made a discovery. Now, you remember? Do you remember that we sent that surveyor, that engineer up there to survey your land? So, they already, the author and Don Anselmo, with the permission of Don Anselmo, the author sent a surveyor, an engineer to survey Don Anselmo's land. Because Don Anselmo told them that it was 8-acre land. So, for that only, they sent surveyor to survey the land. So, as to make the deed. So, before going to make the deed, they want to survey that land. So, that's why they sent a surveyor to survey the land. Well, he finds that you own more than 8 acres. So, Don Anselmo believed that he had owned only 8-acre land. So, after the survey, they come to know that he had more than 8 acres land. So, Don Anselmo thought that he has only 8 acres land and he is ready to sell that land for $1,200. But, after the survey, they come to know that they have more than 8 acres land. Acres. It tells us that your land extends across the river. So the surveyor who surveyed that land told him that Don Anselmo's land extends across the river. ಆ ನದಿಯ ಆಚೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಡಾನ್ ಆನ್ಸೆಲ್ಮೋ ಅವರ ಭೂಮಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಆ ಸರ್ವೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು. And that you own almost twice as much as you thought. So now Don Anselmo is now having almost double land, means more than 8 acres land he has hold. That was that survey. He did not know that. Don Anselmo did not know that. He didn't know that his land extends across the river. He believed that his land only 8 acres. And now, Don Anselmo, I added, these Americans are buona gente. Observe the word buona gente. Buena. It is a Spanish word. Gent. Buena gente means good people. Good people. Good people. So here the author telling to Don Anselmo that the people who are going to buy his land, the Americans were good people. They were the good people. They are good people and they are willing to pay you for the additional land as well. So, before the survey, both are believed that the land is only 8 acres and they decided $1,200 for that. But after the survey, they come to know that the land is more than 8 acres. So, the Americans, those who are purchasing that land, well, they were good people. That's why they are ready to give the additional price for the extra amount for the additional land. That's why the author told them as buona gente, are good people. At the same rate per acre. What they have purchased 8 acres per land, the same amount only they are ready to give. So that instead of $1,200, you will get almost twice as much, and the money is here for you. So Don Anselmo, the Americans, those who are going to purchase your land, they are good people and they are ready to give you more they are ready to give extra amount for the additional land. So now you will get more than $1,200. More than $1,200. It means to them you will get double amount. And they are also told that money is ready. ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡಾನ್ ಆನ್ಸೆಲ್ಮೋ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ 8 ಎಕರೆ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಮಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ $1,200. ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಳತೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅದೇನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, 8 ಎಕರೆಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಆ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದ ಜನ ಅವರು ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯವರು, ಅವರು ಆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಅದೇ ರೇಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ತಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಆಥರ್ ಅವರು ಡಾನ್ ಆನ್ಸೆಲ್ಮೋಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಹಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ದ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಥರ್ Yuval Cirillo, the old man hung his head for a moment in thought. So, the old man, Don Anselmo, held his head for a while in thought. Then he stood up and stared. After thought something, the old man stood up and stared at me. Stare means ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು, ತದೇಕ ಚಿತ್ರದಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಏನ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್, he said, I do not like to have you speak to me in that manner. So Don Anselmo, why he was called as gentleman means he always expect respect from others and he was not ready to be insulted. So that's why he's telling he has got anger about the author. That's why he's saying that I do not like to have you speak to me in that manner. Cyrilo, I never expect the words from you like that he is telling. I kept still and let him have his say. The author was kept silent and he allowed him to speak his words. I know, and Don Anselmo continues his speech. I know these Americans are good people. I know these Americans are good people. Cyrilo, I know these Americans are good people. ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಇವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಜನ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು. And that is why I have agreed to sell to them. So I know that these Americans are good people. That's why I am agreed to sell my land to them. ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಆ ಜನ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯವರು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಾರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಬಟ್ I do not care to be insulted. So, think here. Taking more money is insult to him. How great it is. If we were in that place, means we will demand it. But this person, he feels that if he takes more money, he will be insulted. Oh, Don Anselmo took more money, has so much desire about the money. Like that, people will talk. So that's why he told that I don't care to be insulted. I have agreed to sell my house and land for $1,200, and that is the price. So he again is repeated that I agreed to sell my land and house for $1,200, and that is the price. It means to say that Don Anselmo refused to take more money for the additional land. That's why it was called as gentleman. I argued with him, but it was useless. The author, he was also the well-wisher of Don Anselmo only. So that's why he argued with him. Who argued with him? The author argued with Don Anselmo. He tried to convince him to take more money. But Don Anselmo didn't agree for that. Finally, he signed the deed and took the money, but refused to take more than the amount agreed upon. But Don Anselmo did not ready to take more money from the author. He only took the amount which has been fixed previously, and he agreed to. Then he shook hands all around, put on his wretched gloves, took his stick and walked with the boy behind him. So Don Anselmo, he was a man of principles. He is not ready to give up his principle for the sake of money. So that's why Don Anselmo, he refused to take more money, and he only took the money which has been already decided, $1,200, and he thanked all the people who were there and went away with the boy who came with him. So let us stop here, students, and you have to write the answers to the questions in the page number 50 and page number 48. You have to answer those questions. I think you have all enjoyed the today's class, and thank you very much.